AV Colin Market, pick one.
A lot of people have asked me to do this, and I said no to all of them. I just need my coffee. Excuse me, we're working here, people. People come to comedy so they can hear something, because there is a void of voices that are speaking for individuality.
Your job is to disturb. Your job is to shake things up.
Not all women. I mean the old-fashioned ones. You know, the old-fashioned women. Oh, God. You know, the ones with wombs. Oh.
That poking of the bear is the point of what we do. You're gonna risk offending people no matter what you say.
That's offensive. What? This is how I feel inside.
I started to notice certain topics being called off limits.
This is the first time I've been afraid in many ways.
What did you mean about that? I feel triggered.
It isn't about anyone's particular taste. It's about someone having the right to say it.
Power doesn't like to laugh at itself.
Comedy is the great equalizer.
We need it more than ever. My name is Tyler Fisher, and I'm a stand-up comedian.
Guys, your next performer comes to stage. He is fantastic. Give it up for Tyler Fisher!
I'm lucky that this is the weird skill, one of the few skills I have to make a living and to connect with people.
People call me a piece of shit white guy every day anyways. I'm like, might as well lean into it. Call me racist again. Tell me I'm privileged. Tell me I'm privileged with these little legs. Oh, you're just a privileged white guy. I can't even ride a roller coaster legally. What do you think?
Luckily, you don't start work until 7, 8, 9, 10 at night, so you've got a big chunk of time during the day. Fortunately now, because I make money off of my videos and my podcast, I'm taking a seed of an idea. I'm covering a whiteboard, exploring it.
It is such an interesting time to try to do stand-up now that I think the opportunities are great. Anytime there's a cultural dissension and anytime people feel like they're being lied to, like now, well, you'll have the potential for great art. The CEO of United Airlines last month, he announced of all the hiring for all the new pilots that are coming up this year, all the hiring for the new pilots, the main focus is going to be diversity. What? Diversity? Not the best pilots you can find? The ones with the most hours and experience? When they do come to my shows, I think they walk out and they go like this. Okay, I thought it was just me.
My name is Roseanne Barr. I'm I don't know what I do. I do a whole bunch of stuff. I write jokes, I babysit, I cook.
Have you ever noticed that fat people don't think like skinny people? We have our own way of thinking. Like, did you ever ask a fat person for directions? Because that is when the difference in thinking really shows, you know. Because you go up to them on the street and ask them where something is, and they tell you like this. Well, go down here to Arby's.
My father was a huge fan of stand-up comedy, and he'd say, this guy's a comedian. He says things funny. But this guy's a comic. He says funny things.
I'm civil rights activist Jeff Dye. Stand-up comedian, podcaster, terrible actor, dog lover, Bigfoot enthusiast. I've always known I wanted to be a stand-up comedian because I wasn't athletic, wasn't smart, girls didn't like me, we were poor, we dressed terrible, had big hair, Kool-Aid stains, braces, I was a mess. But I could always make kids laugh and I could always be silly and I was always very engaging that way. So once I learned, like at a certain age, like, oh, I know Chris Farley, whatever he does.
Now I wonder, Bryan, from what I've heard, you're using your paper not for writing, but for rolling doobies. You're gonna be doing a lot of doobie rolling when you're living in a van down by the river.
My name is Bryan Callen, and I am a professional jackass. I get paid for what I got in trouble for in school my entire life. It's called a stand-up comic.
Women, you guys, say what you will about gender parity. You guys can cry over anything, huh? You can't? You cry over nothing. I've seen that. I've seen it. I've walked in the room. I've been like, what's wrong? I don't know. I'm just having a day. I guess we're going shopping, huh?
Anybody who I ever saw take to the stage to attempt to tell jokes is my idol. Lenny Bruce, Rodney Dangerfield, just all the greats, George Carlin.
John Cleese, my comedic hero. I don't believe that the most sensitive members of society should get to decide what everybody else gets to listen to and watch. Let us, are you going to chew my food for me as well? He doesn't say that part, but I do. Well, first of all, Monty Python was the high watermark of comedy of the 20th century. The fish slapping dance. It's this wonderful, absurdist progression of nonsense, but it's wonderful.
Carlin, for me, is the greatest comic in many ways.
Here's another pack of low-grade morons who ought to be locked into portable toilets and set on fire. These people with bumper stickers that say, "We are the proud parents of an honor student at the Franklin School." You know? Or the Midvale Academy, or whatever other innocent-sounding name has been assigned to the indoctrination center where their child has been sent to be stripped of his individuality and turned into an obedient, soul-dead, conformist member of the American consumer culture.
I think Carlin kind of took a mirror and just kind of, shined it back at us and said, hey, you might be the problem, everybody. You guys might be hypocrites, too.
George Carlin went to jail. And I don't think a lot of comedians know that. I think it's important to know the history of comedy. George Carlin went to jail for swearing on stage. He went to jail to find out, what are the words you can't say? All right, you're arresting me for swearing, but you're not giving me a list of words.
I wanted a list, because nobody gives you a list. That's the problem. They don't give you a list. Wouldn't you think it'd be normal if they didn't want you to say something to tell you what it is?
About 10 years ago, I started to notice certain topics being called off limits.
Have you been to a stand-up comedy show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was there anything in the show that you were offended by or that you thought should not have been allowed to be said?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you remember the topics or jokes that you didn't like?
I just think that it's a low blow when they go for the trying to offend people stuff, because they're like, you know what? Comedy's supposed to make you uncomfortable. And it's like, I don't think comedy has to make you uncomfortable all the time. I think that if you are good at comedy, you don't have to find something that's going to offend someone. You can find something that's relatable, but what do you gain personally from bringing up topics that you know are going to make your audience uncomfortable?
If George Carlin was alive today, he would be like, well, here are the 7,000 topics you can't talk about. You can't talk about race, gender. If you're black, you can't talk about this. If you're white. And he'd have this whole list. And I thought, man, he actually was more free back then.
The threat of cancellation is very real. Because what cancellation really means is that we live in a society, unfortunately, where corporate America, where the money doesn't want to have anything to do with you. They're too afraid. If you really want to silence people, take away their ability to earn a living. Put pressure on their sponsors. Put pressure on the people that pay their bills. Nobody wants that.
I lived through a jihad from the right when I messed up the Star-Spangled Banner. And now I've lived through an inquisition by the left.
It is one of the most shocking developments in TV history. ABC cancels its #1 comedy, Roseanne, after a racist tweet from its star.
TV's most beloved shows, Roseanne, canceled, and Roseanne Barr effectively banished from Hollywood.
This is the first time I've been afraid in many ways. When we say certain things, we get flagged. And we need YouTube. We need Instagram. We need Facebook. And in many ways, they are our masters because I can't make a living without them. And if I think I'm going to get flagged, which people do and we do, that is a very real threat.
I had like a mental breakdown around 2020 just because it was too many things at once.
The breaking news, stay at home. That is the order tonight from 4 state governors as the coronavirus pandemic spreads.
These are legal provisions. They will be enforced.
During the lockdowns, it was so authoritarian.
The number of people who are dying around the country because they're getting misinformation that is leading them to not take a vaccine.
80 million Americans said, bull, we're not taking those shots. You're not going to tell us what to do. And that we are able, for the first time in my lifetime, to peek behind the curtain and see the great Oz. And they all got exposed. And they all lied and said stuff that even the pharmaceutical company didn't have the balls to say. You take this one drug, and you can't give it, you can't get what? Okay, you take the booster, 2 days, what? The booster, but if you take the booster and the shot, then you got? Well, if you take 2 shots and 2 boosters, then you can't give it, you can't get the virus, you can't what? Will you take a 3rd booster? Will you keep a syringe in your ass and you keep constantly pressing and then you can't give it, you can't get it, and it's all bull. And the American public saw that.
I used to perform 2, 3, 4 shows a night, and after I started exploring my voice during the pandemic, I lost almost 100% of that work.
Anybody who was saying anything, they got rid of them in one way or another. So, of course, comedy got a lot softer because, it had to. Plus, you wouldn't get booked if you didn't.
So I was a TV guy, worked at NBC. Anytime I would say something that was a little edgy or political, NBC would just cut around that in a very business way, be like, we don't really talk about that here at NBC, or we don't talk that way here at NBC. So what they were saying to me is, Jeff, we're just not doing your politics. We're doing what we want to do politically, but we're not going to touch on any of that stuff. And so I was like, all right, what's my tool? Stand-up comedy. That's all I have. That's how I get heard. And so I was like, I'm just going to start writing about this stuff.
So I started doing my jokes on my phone, and thank God the internet is a pretty good place to put your comedy to get a reach.
Hey guys, it's Taylor. It's day 6 of girlhood, and look who I got, a new sponsor. Look at this cool Bud Light tower they sent me. Bud Light sent me so much cool stuff because they're so inclusive. Look at this Bud Light tank top. And I've obviously been drinking a lot of Bud. I also might be pregnant. Don't tell anyone.
Are there any topics that you feel like are off limits to you?
There's a lot of stuff. Race, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff about gender, because everybody's like, what's he gonna say?
Yeah, you kind of have to massage them and almost make them feel like you're on their whatever side they are.
Exactly.
Before you go in and maybe hit a little punch.
Yeah, I have to admit, maybe I'm gay. I don't know.
Right, yeah.
But just so I can
We're all a little trans. Yeah. We're all a little black. We're all a little black. We're all a little gay.
Of course, you're going to make fun of, sometimes, certain groups. And the reason you make fun of those groups is because there's probably some truth. There's some truth in that.
Young people have got this new thing where it's like, if you say a thing about a group, you must hate that group. You're like, no, most of us are just talking about that group. We don't hate them at all. I don't hate trans people. I love them. I'll protect their rights. I'll be their friend. We can hang out. I just think they're weird.
I actually like trans women better than I like regular women. I do. Have you ever talked to a trans woman? They're great. They're like dudes. I'm like, this gal gets me,
People now started to think saying things is a type of violence. You're like, no, it's not. Saying things is just saying things.
You can't make a joke about somebody else because you don't have their lived experience.
The idea that you got to only stay in your lane. What is that lane? Who decided that lane? Can I make fun of Asians and white people?
Can I make fun of tall people?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Encouraged.
Could women make fun of short men?
Yes.
Could short men make fun of fat women?
No.
Oh, why not? Why can't a man make fun of a woman
I
for
just
her
feel
body
like
size?
we can make fun of you, but you can't make fun of us.
Women can make fun of men.
Yes.
But men can't make. Wow, you just closed off a ton of topics. What if I said I was a woman? Can then I make fun of fat women?
Yeah.
All right. My name's Taylor, and I'm a woman.
It's a slippery slope to go down to say, if you don't live like this person, you can't joke about that person.
They like to be enraged, and that switches into self-righteous indignation. Those two things go together.
These are jokes. You're an adult. You can decide to laugh at it or whatever. And if you pay to come see me and you're insulted, do your research. That's on you. Look me up. If you think I might say something objectionable, that's my job.
You can't not tell the truth or else you're just another liar, you know? And it might hurt you and get you kicked out or your family or nobody wants to take your calls. But so what?
My job is to get people to think. Is not to get people to reinforce their political ideology. They can stay at home and watch Stephen Colbert, or they can watch Jimmy Fallon if they want to do that, or Jimmy Kimmel, and then they'll tell you what to think, and then go ahead and think that, because they're not going to ask you to think for yourself.
Are you mad? You okay?
No, he's not mad. Oh, he is.
You're mad?
Yeah.
That's okay. You know what the cool thing about it in America is? Free speech isn't the speech you like. Nice stuff's not what needs to be protected. It's the stuff that you hate that needs protection, so that somebody like the government or you doesn't get to decide what everybody else gets to hear. Okay? And you're more than welcome to disagree and write an act and get on stage and sell out like I just did.
It isn't about anyone's particular taste. It's about someone having the right to say it. And then that person, because when you eliminate free speech, you're not only stopping somebody's right to speak, you're also stopping somebody's right to listen.
That poking of the bear or the opening those conversations is the point of what we do.
Your job is to say things that people think but would never dare say because they might get fired or kicked out of a room of polite company.
You can't say shit anymore. If you're a white guy, you can't. That's why I have to come to a basement where your phones are locked up.
My name is Noam Dwarman. I'm the owner of the Comedy Cellar.
The Comedy Cellar, it's a tiny place, but that's where some of the best comics on the planet, no matter how big they get, always come back to.
People come down here because they want to hear the edgy stuff, the stuff that's over the line.
I don't think I've ever heard comedy and safe in the same sentence. I feel like you kind of have to be on edge to get a rise out of people.
No subject is off limits because somebody else has decided you can't joke about it.
Sometimes I'll remind the crowd, if they're getting a little tight, that they're in the most free country in the world, the most free artistic city in the world. This might be one of the most free-thinking spaces to be in the world. And I just want to take a moment to say I support Ukraine, and I just want to take a moment to say Black Lives Matter, and specifically Black Ukrainian trans lives matter. And I just want to go on the record and say that.
Well, if you tell a comedian not to talk about it, many of them will talk about it.
Don't tell me not to do it, because if you tell me not to do it, I gotta do it. I have to.
I think people are getting fed up now with cancel culture. Comedians are a part of that movement to push back against that.
Shane Gillis is a great example.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shane Gillis!
He got hired and then quickly unhired from a joke that missed on a podcast.
A Saturday Night Live shakeup, the show firing one of its new cast members.
Comic Shane Gillis out at SNL after just a few days amid a firestorm of criticism.
Many on social media praised the decision. Former SNL cast member Rob Schneider did not, tweeting, "I am sorry you had the misfortune of being a cast member during this era of cultural unforgiveness."
I still stood up for him and I said, hey, that's wrong to get rid of him. The fact of the matter was that they, at that time, they were swept up in this authoritarianism.
Who knows the kind of pressure Lorne Michaels was under?
Shane Gillis, talk about fearless. And this guy made his own way and now he's huge. Maybe bigger than he would be if he was on SNL. I don't know.
So I don't know if you know this. Like, being racist isn't like a yes or no thing. You know what I mean? It's not like you have it or you don't have it. Like, being racist is more, it's like being hungry. You know? It's like, yeah, you're not right now. You know? It's like, yeah, you're not hungry right now, but a cheeseburger could cut you off on the highway.
The cream rises to the top, and he's a really funny comedian, and you can't keep a funny guy down.
Most of you probably have no idea who I am. I was fired from this show a while ago.
The pendulum is swinging back a little bit. I think part of what that means is as simple as corporate America not panicking whenever something erupts on Twitter that scares them.
And that's why I think this whole woke movement is very good for comedy. It gives us something to push back on.
It's never been a better time for comedy because you have to have something to rail against.
Bring on your woke police. Bring on your shackles. I need something to break out of.
I want to be able to say the N-word, okay? No, no, not that. Non-vaccinated. That's the word I'm talking about.
This is a golden age of stand-up comedy, and quality drives demand.
Every show I do is completely sold out. Why? Because they're hearing stuff they can't hear on TV.
You're reminded of how good life can be and how silly this whole game might just be. That's what I love about comedy.
I think there's going to be a renaissance of it. I think it's coming into a big rebirthing.
I have new comedians reaching out saying thank you for opening up this area.
If something is so ridiculous and tyrannical and authoritarian, the way to knock it down is to laugh at it.
There's something great about comedy because what it does is it takes the whole chessboard and throws it in the air.
And what you're seeing now is the collapse of authoritarian idiocy, an ideology they cannot hold up, so they have to just shout you down. And it won't work because Americans are smarter than that, and we've had enough of it. So thank you, but I'm gonna keep speaking my mind, and you're gonna have to deal with it.